We used to run a unit at Swinburne called Australian Media Policy, and it was never a very popular unit to run because students tended to find it a bit dry, a bit boring, and after a while we ended up discontinuing the unit because it never got fantastic student feedback. And I think that's a shame in a way because we've actually taken away one of the more important bits of media studies from the program. Media policy is actually really important. All the stuff that we watch, all the stuff that we listen to, all the stuff that we read is governed to some extent by policy, and understanding that policy really helps us understand the limits of what our media can and can't do. So it's actually quite a shame that we've taken that out of the program. The module this week actually tries to bring it back in a context and starts from the assumption that media policy is based on the culture in which that policy is enacted. So what we're looking at this week is how media policy works across three very different cultural regions. So we're looking at the Middle East using Egypt as an example. We're looking at Southeast Asia, looking at Malaysia, and then we're looking at Oceania, looking at Australia, and actually drawing on some of that old Australian media policy material. It's an important topic, I think, not just because it's intrinsically important to understand how policy governs what we can and can't do, but it's also an area where many students end up finding employment. Regardless of where you're working in media, you're going to have to abide by the various policies of the companies that you work for and also the Australian government more broadly. So if you're working for a large company in a media department, you're going to have to follow their guidelines and government guidelines. If you're working for a broadcaster or even a large social media company, understanding the regulatory environment that you're working in is actually going to be really key. So this is a really important topic, and as I said, it's culturally dependent. So one of the first things you'll have to learn when you start working is the policy environment you're working in. So I hope you enjoy the content. As I said, it can be a bit dry, but I think by comparing the policy environments in different cultures, I think it actually makes it much more interesting because you really get to get a cultural flavour to how policy is created. So enjoy, and we'll talk about it in tunes. Cheers.